Stand Tall here with a good friend, and it's Wes Giverson. How you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you, my friend?
I am all right. We've been wanting to do this for some time.
Yes, we have, and we're here finally.
Normally, we got to get to a golf course before we start talking.
Yes, we definitely do. We got to be chipping and putting, and
yeah, I mean, we have this we try to get everything talked about in 6 holes, and then it doesn't work. We go.
No, it doesn't work.
We have to go longer. Just to kind of set the table here a little bit. At Stand Tall, we do. Many different categories. We do the education stories, the politics stories, the Jesus stories, the sports stories, and the people stories. And people's kind of the fun one because it kind of covers everything. And you're kind of in that group a little bit because you got such a cool life that you're living now. But you also, we're an educator and a coach, and you still coach just different sports. And that's how we met, was through sports. And that, I'm thinking, what year?
Boy, 2009 or 10?
Yeah, I'm
probably
thinking
2009, fall of
15,
09.
16 years ago.
Yeah, fall of 09.
So Wes was at McMinnville High School. I was at Newburgh High School. You were coming right out of Linfield College.
Yep, right out.
I'd been at Newburgh for quite a while. And even though, you're about the same age as my sons and stuff, I don't know, we just hit it off right off the bat. And I've always appreciated that fact that we could just hit it off. I never look at ages. And I know you don't either.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
Why is that?
I just love people. People are people.
People are fun.
Yeah.
People are crazy.
People are crazy.
What's that song? Beer's good, God is something, people are crazy.
I don't know. That must be country.
It's country.
Sounds like country. That's not my cup of tea, but
yeah, it's country. I think it's God is good. No, God is great. Beer is good. People are crazy. That song. But I think for us, as right off the bat was the thing that for all, everybody's listened to us. What was interesting about our story though was McMinnville and Newburgh have been a rivalry since 2000 or
way before 2000.
Yeah, let's go back to 1909. 500 people got on a train in 1909 in Newburgh and took a train to McMinnville, Oregon. Now, 1909, I mean, roads aren't much, and so McMinnville, I think, won that game. I think it was 12-8. The next year, 500 people from McMinnville got on a train, came to Newburgh, and that was the start of the rivalry. Newburgh won like 8-6. And it's just been going on ever since. And I think one of the coolest things about high school sports is that local or other school rivalry. You Jesuit, Central Catholic. You have, you grew up going to Sprague High School, so who was your big rivalry?
South Salem.
South Salem.
Right, the two schools in South Salem, Sprague, South Salem. We didn't affiliate with the Saxons. Okay. We were told to never talk to the Saxons, but some of my best friends were Saxons, so we bucked the trend.
Yeah, I think it's funny because we've had that rivalry though, where the Mac Newburgh thing comes into play, and it gets kind of intense. But that's also what we talk about, Wes, all the time. I think I've said this to you before. You can't go to the mall anywhere in the world, and you've traveled more than I have. You can't go to a mall and buy what we get in sports.
No, I mean what we created, I think, within the tennis programs, where our kids grew up saying, oh, this is the Newburgh kid saying, oh, this is a Mac kid. We can't associate, and vice versa. Yeah. The kids seeing our friendship, even though we wanted to kick each other's butt every match we played, and he's got more wins over me than I have wins over you. Close. 6-4, but not that anyone's counting.
Did you count? Okay.
I did count, yeah. But I think what was really cool is our kids became close. And so even though that rivalry was there on the court and they wanted to beat each other on the court, the friendship off the court was cool to see. And I think a lot of other sports didn't necessarily have the same sort of connection between the players that we did. Maybe that's also tennis being a little more, I don't want to say relaxed, but there's more of a gathering area off the court when kids aren't playing. That fosters that connection. But it was a really cool thing. And then it still continues today, even though we're both out of our positions.
Yeah. No, and I'd say of all things, Wes, happened to me through coaching, meeting you, kind of similar perspectives on how to coach, how to get kids to be respectful was one of the great things. Because my first 9 years or so with Mac wasn't the same way.
Okay.
And I'm older, so I was part of some of those big time. I coached basketball also. I was part of some of those just barn burner conflicts where people are, they're trying to, intimidate you by knocking on the walls in the locker room and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But I think what I'm most proud of is we did kind of develop that. The kids saw how we interacted with each other, and that carried over onto the court. They still tried to win. I mean, because Wes and I are ultra competitive, and so we can sit
Just
here
a little bit.
Yeah, we can be as nice as you want to be, sounding good here on a podcast, but it's all about when I've said this before. The graphic called me a long time ago. It's July, man. We need a good quote. And I'm like, all right. We got nothing to put in the paper in the middle of summer, you know, in a town like Newburgh size. And Mac's a bit bigger, but I said, yeah, winning's more fun than losing. And you know, they got to we got to the front page of the local paper, and a lot of people are like, yeah, you know. So I think the reason you play sports is one of my 4 categories: have fun, work hard, be respectful, compete. You've kind of got your own similar things, but you know, competing is just one thing I just want to teach those kids. We coach boys that they're going to have to continue on into life with, and you want them to be as competitive as possible, because they're going to be out there competing for jobs and girls and cars and loans and everything. And life's competitive. Yeah,
I remember too. I mean, we had those from probably 2010 to 2013. We had such intense, awesome matches. We would do the night match in McMinnville where we'd turn the lights on and we'd get
epic
300-400 people watching the match, which never happens for a high school tennis match. You introduce the barbecuing, so we'd have the barbecue, and then all the JV kids would come over, and we had some intense matches. Then Newburgh and Mac went to different conferences. And then when we reunited, and I think that was 2019, I had a couple assistant coaches that played for me during that era, the earlier era, and our teams play, and it was like you could hear a pin drop. It didn't quite have the same kind of zest, and all of the coaches, I think, were a little more amped up than the players, but that's because that rivalry was kind of reignited. And so I think now it's a little more angsty, and or a little more competitive is the right way to say.
We both have friends that are, took over our programs and stuff, and I know you guys are pretty good this year. You guys should clean up.
I think they got some good kids. They'll have fun.
Newburgh's okay. Newburgh's okay. What's the one thing you miss most about coaching? Because we talk about things we don't miss, but what's a couple things you miss the most about coaching?
Coaches meetings. Just kidding.
Oh, we hate meetings. Oh,
I like meetings if I get to run them.
True, because it's like, okay.
In my new line of work, I run all the meetings I'm a part of, so I like that. But working with the kids would definitely be it. I mean, I'm actually going out there once a week this spring, helping my friend Doug Barsati that's taken over. He was an assistant for me back in the day, and it's been fun to go out there once a week, see the kids, plant the seed in their brain, plant one seed in there, and then the next week see if it's starting to grow.
Right.
And not having to worry about the schedules and the rainouts and the buses. And
oh man, this has been a tough spring for rainouts.
It's been pretty rainy.
Pretty brutal.
Today it rained a little bit.
Oh my gosh. We just had lunch. Wes was playing pickleball all morning, and I'm sitting in my truck and it's just coming down in buckets.
Yeah.
But I think, one of the things, if you know about spring sports in Oregon, man, one spring it's fairly dry, next spring is wet. This is a wet spring, but in tennis, obviously, you don't want to be out there on a painted court. It's pretty slippery. So you're relegated to the gymnasium usually, if you're lucky. But then sometimes there's blood drives, and then there's conflicts with the cheerleaders having tryouts and
basketball season.
Basketball.
I mean, our Mac girls went to the state tournament for the second time ever. Made it to the final 8. So that first week they had practice, getting ready for the tournament. So I think it rained out the first couple days for tennis. They were in the gym, and so the kids couldn't play. So it's just part of the process.
It's tough. Yeah. It's a juggling act. We called it French fries. If we had so many days in a row where it rained, we'd do something, and then I go McDonald's, French fries, and we just head to McDonald's, and the coaches would buy plates full of French fries, and then we would get ice creams and waters, and we'd do team building and just sit in there, and we didn't have anything else to do, and so you wanted to make it productive. And you did a lot of this stuff too, and one of my favorite things was team building. It was just that ability to get kids talking, because high school boys, it's a difficult time in life, and
definitely
they all bring a lot of stuff to the plate, and they don't talk about it unless there's an opportunity to talk about it. And so our team building would give them that opportunity. And man, we had some pretty intense talks.
Maybe that's why you beat us more than we beat you, because I was making the kids run sprints while you were going to McDonald's.
Getting French fries.
Just
all
kidding.
about the French fries.
Just kidding.
Gosh, we bought a lot of French fries. But Wes is, I'm going to tell him what you do now.
Sure.
And we'll kind of get back to that. Wes, we met through coaching. And again, you taught until what year?
2021 was my last season, or last school year.
So you have, of all my friends I have, and I know a lot of people, and I have some people with some pretty cool jobs. You might be at the top of that list. Wes decides to go from a classroom, and I've seen him coach. I've seen his classroom up front because he'd have our conference tennis meetings in his classroom. And I talked to his kids. He's an outstanding educator. And but you made the transition into professional pickleball.
Yeah. So coaching mostly, but still competing at the highest level. And I'd say probably about, some people may go, well, professional pickleball, can you make a living compared to teaching school? And I would say probably, a good 80% of my income comes from my coaching and my clinics, and then 20% from playing and some sponsorships. But it's been really a fun transition that's allowed me to travel and see places around the world that I never have. I mean, I played in a league in Australia last year. So I made 3 trips to Australia, 1 to Vietnam, and 1 to New Zealand last year. Played pickleball, got immersed in the culture, coached.
Right.
And then a month ago, February, I was in India for 2 weeks playing in a league there. So it's really a fun job, and I will keep playing at that level until they don't let me play anymore based on skill and age, and then I'll just coach full time.
So many years ago, I put a pickleball court in the backyard.
You did.
And we're tennis people. We still love tennis, through
of course.
But that was about, 7, 8 years ago. You were starting to play some pickleball at that point.
I think it was before that.
8 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
You played before the pickleball court went in?
Yes.
But
competing more intensely.
So I didn't beat you to the punch in pickleball. You still win that one.
Yeah.
The pickleball thing, though, and I've gone up. Spencer Lanier played tennis for me, 6'5". He's one of the top young guys in the world.
One of the top players in the world.
He's good.
Yeah, very good.
And I got the privilege of making a phone call to Wes one night after we had our tennis awards out here at our house with the pickleball court. And Spencer and his dad's playing, me and Aaron Rauch, my assistant coach. And Aaron played college soccer, basketball, very athletic. And, oh, man, they got tense. And Aaron and I lost. Yep. And Spencer hadn't hardly played much at all. And I remember calling you up. And you go, yeah, I think I saw this kid down at Mac or something playing. And so I called Wes and said, hey, dude, if I do anything well in coaching, it's knowing talent and where to put him. And I said, you need to see this kid because he's pretty good. He's smart. He's intense. And so Wes got a hold of him, and the rest is history. And Spencer's a great kid. Lives in Florida now.
Yeah, he moved to Florida. We miss him, but get to see him a couple times a year in India and all these other tournaments. But it's been fun to see his rise and played some tournaments with him. And, it's really cool to see him flourish.
It is.
In this sport.
He's got a quirky sense of humor, super funny kid. But, back to the pickleball, though, to me, it's like, we're a little bit rare, but I think it's getting more healthy all the time. There's always competition in sports, baseball, track, tennis in the springtime, football, soccer in the fall. But I would say, we both promote pickleball. Obviously, this is your full-time gig.
Sure.
But I do too, because the reason I like pickleball is it can reach the masses. And if there's anything as coaches that we'd like to see more of is people move. And it's a fun game, I think, for a lot of average people to play, even older people. It started, but it's moved now to the younger generation big time.
Yeah, I think the USA Pickleball Association did statistics, and the average age of someone who's playing consistent pickleball in the U.S. is 34.
Really?
When I started competing and playing more and traveling, I mean, this is 10 years ago, I think it was like 55 or 60. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you get out there now, and I think too, it's just like everything else. We could sit back and we could go to a college or high school tennis practice match, and we could pretty much tell you what skill level these young people are at. Pickleball, there's the same thing now. The skill levels have changed radically.
Yeah.
It's not that wood paddle game you
No.
played in PE anymore.
No.
Why?
Well, those of us on the West Coast, a lot of people never heard of it till a couple of years ago. COVID was the boom for participation. It's why I left teaching, because there were more opportunities to teach. I was, as much as we didn't really like teaching Zoom, some people didn't mind it, but for me, that's not the reason I left education. It was coaching opportunities.
Right.
And when things were shut down, parks were some of the first places to open up again. Yep. People could go play pickleball, when they outside, right, instead of inside. And I think too, I heard a student tell me this the other day, and I agree with it completely. Pickleball is not that hard to learn how to play, but it's tough to master. Whereas I feel like tennis, and I love tennis still, of course, tennis is a little harder to learn. And that could be based on length of racket, could be bounce of the ball. Pickleball is more user-friendly. And, I remember, too, there's a couple kids that play at Mac Tennis right now at the high school that I gave lessons to in tennis when they were 5 or 6. And they were struggling a little bit to make contact. I brought the pickleball paddle out there and had them hit a few balls to get comfortable before we put the tennis racket back in their hands. So it's a little easier to learn. You can play with your families.
Absolutely.
I played a 5-0 level tournament with an 81-year-old as my partner.
He was a 5-0 player?
Yeah. Legendary.
Now, 5-0, you guys, just so you get it, 5-0 in tennis,
You're playing college tennis.
Yeah. So that's how good 5-0 is.
Yeah, and this is the legendary Buzz Summers, who was the Oregon Ducks tennis coach for about 35, 40 years, still playing pickleball. He's got to be almost 90 now.
Wow.
But we played a 5-0 tournament together and got silver.
Really?
And it was all him. And he's a legend at nationals in pickleball. I don't think he's ever lost a singles match in 80+. So it's amazing I got to play a tournament with someone that could be my grandfather,
right,
age-wise. So, and competing against people that are my age or younger.
Well, like I've seen some of your guys' pickleball a little bit at the high end level, and like we were talking about, we were just at the BNP tennis tournament, down in Indian Wells in the Coachella Valley of Palm Springs, and oh my gosh, there's a kid named Colton Smith from University of Arizona, went to Tenino High School, which I used to sell hardwood lumber to Tenino High School.
Okay.
And Colton's like 6'2", good athlete. My new favorite player, he's passed Ben Shelton on my list because he beat Flavio Cobelli in the first round.
Wow.
40th ranked player in the world.
Yeah,
His highest 30th. But Colton was wearing a camo fishing hat. He's not sponsored. He won like 2 or 3 qualifiers just to get into the draw.
That's so cool.
Wins $40,000 for the first round. We went and saw the second round match, and he lost to Mickelson from the U.S., seeded 31 in the world. So anyway, once you get to like his level to break through to that pro level, I get a kick out of being a basketball guy too, because you have all these people say, oh yeah, they're not that amazing, and it's like, yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're yeah. And
so when you see the pro level,
sure,
and then not even me, because I haven't played a pickleball to really even get into that.
Hate to break it to you, you're not at the pro level.
Yeah,
and you probably won't be, my friend.
Am I here?
Hate to say that.
I'm here.
I'll keep going.
Keep going.
Underneath the camera shot.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. With me, without me. No, but when you get to that pro level compared to you go out, you get some good players at the park that are like 3.5, maybe 4.0.
Yeah,
they're playing some pretty good pickleball.
Locally, they're the best players.
Yeah,
yeah, and then there's just levels and levels.
So what's the 3 or 4 things that change between that 4.0 can really play at the park?
Mm-hmm.
You watch them play and you're going, dang, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
To your level.
The interesting thing about pickleball is the better players play at a slower pace. It's the only sport I can think of. Now, what I mean by that is when you go to a tournament, you go to a park, right, you see people playing slam bam like you would see on a tennis court. Those are the weaker players because you get to a certain level and people's hands are so good. And the paddle technology, as much as it's improved and created more power and spin, everyone at the pro level's hands are so good that you can't rip it through them, right? You got to dink it. You got to hit it short in the kitchen, hit these drop shots. So the better players play at a slower pace because they're playing this finesse game as opposed to ripping everything.
Right.
So I think to get from that park level to that higher level, it's strategy, it's the ability to change the pace of your shot from a slow to a fast to a slow shot, and patience.
Okay.
You got to be patient. I remember years ago, and this is, oh my God, it was probably 10 years ago, down at Nationals, someone filmed one of our matches, and I was playing with a gentleman from California who was the best dinker or soft shot, for those out there that haven't played pickleball, the best drop shotter in the whole sport. He was hitting cross court with our other opponent. And I think someone said they watched the match back and they counted one rally where there were 110 dinks back and forth in 1 point. So it takes a lot of patience.
Yeah. Well, it's a much smaller court than tennis.
It's smaller, for sure.
So you don't have, like, trying to get down the line and stuff's tougher.
There's no doubles alleys.
So back to, technically, though, just so you guys don't know out there that are thinking about pickleball and stuff, like when I teach a tennis camp, the first thing I do is I take all the kids or adults, whatever, and we walk around and look at the logistics. Like, this is the baseline; it's the fattest line on the court. This is the center line, the singles line, the doubles line, the doubles alley, and so like in pickleball, though, you have your court. I believe it's 24 feet.
20 by 44.
Yeah,
20. I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, but the first 7 feet from the net is called
the non-volley zone or the kitchen.
And why?
You have to keep if you want to hit the ball out of the air when it's in that region, you have to keep your feet behind that line.
Right.
The kitchen piece, I mean, as long as I've played, I haven't really focused on the terminology too much, but you can't run up to the net and put the ball away. Like, you have to keep your, yes.
Yeah.
So if you look at a pickleball court, the lines are reversed, essentially. So in tennis, you get your service boxes right by the net,
right,
with the big box in the back. Pickleball's the opposite.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a chess. It's people have described it as like table tennis meets tennis, and it's played on like a table, and you're playing chess at the same time.
Yeah. Again, I guess the thing that there are a few sports I haven't come to grips with lacrosse yet. Just haven't.
Okay.
I've learned to like soccer. I didn't get to play. You did.
Great sport.
But I didn't get to play. In the 70s, the coach would come out and go, soccer ball, he talked boring about for 30 minutes, and he'd go, you guys just want to play football? We go, yeah. And so never got the opportunity to do anything with soccer until my kids.
Okay.
My oldest son, Paul, goes out, gets a coach who's not very good and makes it really unfun. And at the end of the 10 games, I said, you have to go tell your coach, thank you very much, which he did. And then we get 30 feet away, and Paul goes, soccer sucks. I ain't ever playing again.
Oh.
Then my son below him said, yeah, soccer sucks. I ain't ever playing again. And then my third son, Tyler, became a all-league goalie and toured with lots of teams because he got into soccer. And but Tyler, I remember, pulls his thumb out of his mouth. He's 3. He goes, well, I like soccer. I'm going to play. But I mean, I think it goes back to like tennis, pickleball. I think the advantage pickleball has for the masses, not the pro level, is it's a smaller court to cover, and for a lot of people, 1 or 2 steps is great.
Sure, that's why I like it.
3 or 4 or 5. You're a stud. I mean, you're an athlete, but I mean, 3 or 4 or 5 steps like tennis or that kind of stuff. That's when people get to a certain point, they just can't do it.
Yeah.
And the ball is, on baseline rallies, the ball's moving quicker. And the pace of the ball. You're playing with what kind of ball in pickleball?
It's a wiffle ball.
So it's
not a
real wiffle ball. It's more a little thicker.
Yeah, it's a little thicker, but there aren't a lot of baseline rallies unless it's singles.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to get up to the net. But I think it's just fun because it's easy to learn.
Yeah. And
families can play. Like I got a friend, actually, this couple who are in the Pickleball Hall of Fame, and the woman that's in, she's a pro player. She's played games with her mother, who's 100.
Oh, wow.
She's in her 70s, her daughter in her 40s, and the grandchild in the 20s. They're all in the same court.
Wow.
And even though they're different skill levels, they're able to play and have rallies, where in tennis, we wouldn't get that.
I mean, like if you and I go out and hit a tennis ball, I mean, you were a little bit better than me, but I mean, we could get into rallies. And not a lot of people find that in tennis. You have to, that skill set to come into play is once you find it, it's a kick in the pants. Yeah. But the first time I played pickleball, we were with the Wilders, and we're up somewhere up in the mountains by Mount St. Helens, and the Wilders were camping out. Side note, hey, yeah, show up and go camping with us, So we have this tent that my son had not put everything back in the bag, and so it was kind of some sort of a tent. Well, yeah, they got a fifth wheel trailer that's worth about 80 grand. That's their idea of camping. So, but they pulled out a pickleball court, Matt, and he had a buddy with him and stuff. And we're just playing this little piece of asphalt, little road right in front of the camp spot. And we'd move it if some car came around. And that's the first time I ever whacked a pickleball around.
Yeah, now you got a court in your backyard.
Got a court in the backyard. Well, we weren't going to spend all this time on pickleball.
We jumped into it. I knew it was going to happen.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I wanted to say, though, when it comes to sports, I mean, you played soccer mainly as a kid. You played baseball?
Baseball, soccer, up until high school, and then soccer and tennis, and then tennis in college.
And then I did football, basketball, baseball. I switched over to tennis my sophomore year in high school, and it changed my life. It was great. Yeah. But I would say the one thing that's really cool is when we talk about different skill levels, I've got a chance to play against NBA guys in basketball, and I've got a few chances to hit with some pretty top amateurs, in tennis, and, played a lot of touring softball back in the day, and you just see athletes out there. But, one of the cool things to see about all this, and it's fun for my wife, Judy, and I, because we're close to you, is Wes was, I think it's 2 years now, you've been in the Hall of Fame.
I did get lucky and get inducted. Yeah. Good partners help.
Yeah. He's one of the most humble people you'll ever meet. And it's quite a trait more of us need to have. But I think when you look at, to be recognized by your peers, no matter how humble you are, that's gotta be, I mean, because they're the people that know. They really
family. Know. I think my family was more excited than I was, but yeah, they were pumped.
You were pumped inside.
Yeah, for my family. Because all the hard work of, my parents were great. They let me play every sport. I mean, my dad was a 30-year coach. My mom coached, and, my dad was college baseball and hockey player. And I think that he kind of had this view of me maybe being a baseball player as well. And he was a softball coach at Sprague for almost 20 years. And then when I was 13, I was just done with baseball. Yeah. And so they were supportive. They let me try roller hockey and track. And I mean, there were a lot of sports I was bad at. And then I figured out real quick tennis was good for me, and that moved into pickleball. So
I just remember my best friend was a tennis player. He played his freshman year, I played baseball, and then all of a sudden we're that summer between there. I'm working on farms all, long hours, and he goes, come on, let's go play tennis. And I'm like, all right. So we got to the old courts, asphalt courts, rounded like this with chain link nets. And my buddy Mike Osborne, and he later became #1 at Newburgh in junior senior year. And he got me to play. And I just remember going, wait a minute here, baseball, 4 at-bats. And I love baseball.
Great sport.
I saw Cincinnati Reds in the Cactus League against the A's about 3 weeks ago. I always loved baseball. But, 500 at-bats. That first time playing tennis, I'm like, dang, playing with a wood racket.
Yep.
And my first racket in high school was a Stan Smith.
That's what I learned with.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you leave it out on the porch and let it get warped, and so then you could get a kick serve out of that bad boy?
I didn't know what a kick serve was till I was a junior in high school.
I didn't either, but I just naturally hit that thing and it would kick on the outside. So no, but I think I wanted to everybody recognize, like pickleball's gotten big. There's
massive.
Tour, there's two pro tours.
There's more. I mean, there's more than that. Like you've got stuff in Australia, you've got stuff in Asia, you've got stuff in. There's two Canadian leagues. Like it's just booming.
Well, I will ask you this. I mean, when you look at sports in general, as just a sports fan, forever soccer has been a worldwide sport. Everywhere. Sure. We're probably the weakest in the United States, but now it'll take several generations for soccer to catch up. But soccer is huge in the United States. My neighbor, his daughter plays on a touring team at 11. But soccer's, getting bigger all the time. Tennis is a worldwide sport.
Yep.
Tennis is everywhere. And I think maybe the next one they could maybe throw in a little bit is not quite is basketball. And then, but now pickleball's jumping into that where it's jumping across from continent to continent, and it's everywhere.
The goal is the Olympics. I mean, I think right now there's 2, maybe 3 international organizations that are competing a bit, and they're trying to get unified into one because the International Olympic Committee will recognize a sport if they have one federation, and you need X number of countries, and it's getting close. I think it has to be 150.
Well, if I was the czar of sports in Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
I won't get into the political side of that today.
That's all right. You can.
But we're going to get into some education here in the next episode. But I would say the one thing I'd like to see, they just added some sports.
Mm-hmm.
If I was in charge, I'd keep tennis in the springtime for boys,
mm-hmm.
and I'd have the girls play in the fall.
Okay.
And like they do in Washington.
Okay.
Or that could be vice versa. But I would put pickleball in.
I like it.
I would put pickleball in because here's the kicker. Almost all decisions for sports at high school level are made by a bunch of adults. If you ask the kids, you would get high turnout in pickleball.
Oh, for sure.
And again, you could flip-flop your seasons there. Obviously, it puts a demand out there. Again, you'd have to figure out the facilities a little bit. But I'm telling you what, Wes, pickleball, I think, run it like tennis.
Yeah.
I would make it a total team, sport where you're playing singles and doubles like tennis. We always both approach tennis as a team sport.
Yep.
People always want to say individual. Well, let's take wrestling. Newberg High School's got 13 state titles now.
Right.
We have the different weight classes and stuff, but they play as a team to win. We always did that in tennis too.
Yeah, for sure. Your kid playing one singles is just as important as the kid not playing in the lineup.
Yep.
That's off the court, because the practice and getting everyone ready. What's interesting from a team aspect with youth and pickleball, I think Utah this year is the first state to ever have a high school championships.
Really?
They're doing that this year. And then there's a rating system called DUPR. I think it stands for Dynamic Universal Pickleball Rating. That's kind of the worldwide scene right now, is one of the preeminent rating systems, probably the most popular. They have, I think this is the second year, they've done the DUPR Collegiate Championships. So they've got like over 100 universities and colleges in the U.S. that have a team. Some have multiple teams, like they have their varsity, their JV, their novice team, and then they go and compete. And then there's another tour, the APP tour, one of the pro tours that does their own college event as well. So I know, I actually was in contact with the U of O pickleball club because I saw that they went to the regional, and they're a newer club. They didn't make it out of the regional, but we're in discussions about me doing something with them to help get their level up. So it's really fun to see that growth with the youth, and it can easily be achieved with how many pickleball clubs we have in Oregon now, in Beaverton and Salem and Bend especially. We could get something going in this state.
It's exciting. I think, it's got to be exciting for you, to be a pioneer in a lot of this. And you have older people, like you said, when you first got in, the people were older. But the pioneers of pickleball, it's got to be really satisfying to see something kind of develop. You go back, 125 years ago, and you see baseball come in as a sport, and people start whacking it around. And next thing you go, you got Ty Cobb's and Honest Wagner's playing. And then, you get later, you get into the late teens, early 20s, pro football comes into play. And then it came into being the NFL, years later. Then the NBA came in, I think, 1946. There was basketball before that, but the pro league started there. And it's interesting. You see the evolution of all those sports. Like when they finally, our country just had to go through all these steps to the point where, like, I'm going to pick baseball, for example, and I want to make a point on pickleball on this, is all of a sudden they're going, like, we got to let Jackie Robinson play. And so the color barrier was broke. And that's 10 episodes to talk about right there. Sure. But finally, the Negro Leagues had all these great players. And next thing you know, and Jackie Robinson wasn't the best player that he could have picked. He just was the first. And then so he comes into play. And next thing you know, that revolutionized baseball big time.
Oh, yeah.
And then that obviously came into basketball. Then it came into football. Yeah. And so, everything's grown. But you're at that first stages of pickleball kind of, we're talking a little over a decade out where it's just boom. And where do you see pickleball in 10 years from now?
I hope it's in the Olympics. I mean, we'll see. I mean, they're aiming for what year is it? 2025? 2032, I think, is what they're aiming for.
That's a goal.
Yeah. I mean, some people have a pipe dream of 2028, but that's not going to happen. I don't think.
They move slow.
Yeah.
Like high school.
We got breakdancing in, though. Which, I'm all for it. Try a sport out, see how it goes. The woman from Australia, who was the
Breakdancing?
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah.
No. Look it up.
Okay.
Set the world on fire there. No, but I think long term to have, you're seeing people now. I've got friends who are currently, they're making like $1 million a year playing pro pickleball. $1 million a year with everything, included, with sponsorships and prize money. It would be cool to see it ascend where there's an international tour instead of just, and I'm not downplaying these things, but we've got like MLP Australia, which is awesome. It's a great league. But maybe there's a worldwide league where you're playing one event in Sydney and then you're going to Mumbai and then you're going to Tokyo, just like we have in tennis.
Right.
I think that coupled with more youth programs would be what I hope for in 10 years.
Well, I was going to do kind of a thing here. Wasn't going to do this. This got dropped the other day, but thank you, Coach Brown, the Wildcats, year 2000. I was head 8th grade football coach.
Linfield? I'm just kidding.
No. So just a trophy. But football, I dearly love football.
It's a great sport.
Man, love football.
Played it a couple years.
And I think that, but a lot of parents are worried about, the concussion things,
I understand.
And so a sport like pickleball, I think a lot of parents are looking for those kind of options. Because when you take football, and then, just a step down, I think you have to look at soccer and basketball and lacrosse, sports where there are going to be some contacts.
There's collision.
Those are all real things where one of the things I loved about tennis compared to basketball, I saw a lot of injuries in basketball, blowing ankles, broken leg, broken arm, whatever. But tennis, maybe a ball to the eye. I did have a couple kids slip on wet courts. That's why I didn't practice on wet courts. And they got hurt really bad. But for the most part, pickleball is going to be like that, where it's going to be.
Yep.
Now, there are a lot of injuries with older people. So my warning, and you tell me if you agree. Yep. If you are in my age range, in your 60s, and you haven't moved for a while, don't go out and just start going balls out on pickleball, because you are still stepping and make sure that you've done. What would you recommend to just say your average people over 45 to 75, they're going to play pickleball? What should they do to prep for this before they just go out and go balls out?
I think for any age, because the paddles have gotten faster, hotter, spinnier, more and more people are wearing protective eyewear. Because you're seeing more injuries, especially as, I can relate to this even as a pro player. Reaction time when you get older is going to decrease based on vision. People are losing sight of balls coming in, or they're getting balls that deflect off their paddle and hit them. And so more players, even youth, are wearing protective eyewear. I would do that above everything else.
Right.
And then learn and refocus on learning how to fall properly. Fall properly. Yeah, because what I see a lot at the local courts, and we'll get our email notification from McMinnville Pickleball Club. Hey, this is what's happening this month. Here are events. But we're having a lot of people that have fallen and broken their wrist, because when they're falling, they're putting their hand down. Yeah. And that's not just people that are 60 plus, that's all ages. Yeah. So learning that when you're going to go down, fall on the caboose and roll instead of launching with your hand, because I see more injuries from pickleball from eye injuries and wrist breaks than anything else.
Interesting you say that, because I was talking to a trainer about people getting in shape. And one of the top things for people over, especially over 70, 60, 50, but it doesn't matter. That's why they say anybody over 50, like men, they said one of the top injuries is getting on a ladder.
Sure. That's why I don't get on ladders.
I'm not getting on ladders. But I started to paint our house, and besides sucking at painting, I'm at 14-foot ceiling.
Let's stop there for a second. You're a good painter, but maybe not a house painter. How about that?
Yeah, I do art.
You paint well.
I do. Look at this.
You paint well.
You got to see some of this stuff. This is incredible. I do paint, but it's acrylic paint. And
so he's a good painter.
I'm going to cover up both Wes and I here. I do
perfect
abstract boom. You can see some of that. So I do some of that, but painting that inside the house, oh my Lord. And then I was kind of nervous up there at 15 feet on the ladder.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
And so I'm like, I'm out. I told Judy, I said, I'm out. We're not going to do that anymore. But that's how they say over 50, that's number one. And I've had 3 friends that have all been hurt. And they hit shoulders and hips. And so I would say good advice because they said the number one thing when people step back off a ladder, you've lost your leg strength.
Yep.
And when you don't know it until you do it, and then your leg goes. The reason I know this is about a month and a half ago, some friends, we have a deal, picked them up at the airport. Rainy night, shocker, it's raining in Oregon. I'm picking them up. They're coming back from Mexico, I believe. And I got my truck, Chevy Silverado. It's a little bit high. I got to pick up their bag. Well, I forgot that their bags are really, really heavy.
Oh boy.
And I'm pretty strong, but I'm in a hurry, and I kind of lunged forward on my left leg a little bit, and I just grabbed like I'm gonna throw this bad boy in the back of my truck, right?
Yeah.
And my left leg buckled, and I kind of tweaked my whole hamstring.
Yikes.
Never heard of hamstring. Didn't even know what that was.
Yikes. That's why when you're hitting the golf ball, it goes to the right now, right?
No, I'm dead down the middle. It just doesn't go very far. So, well, we are going to come to the conclusion on this first episode. Yeah. We were going to talk pickleball.
I know, but I knew it was going to happen.
It's your fault. I'm really proud of Wes, though. You know, sometimes you just have, you know, friends that come along in your life. I was telling somebody this a couple days ago. You get your cell phone out, people go, well, you don't always answer your phone. And I said, I answer it when I want to answer it. And then there's those people you know, you do it too. All you guys do it. You just really don't want to talk to them, so you don't answer. And then there's people that are kind of in the middle. You're like, okay, yeah, sure, okay. And then there's people like you. For me, when I see your name pop up on my phone, I'm going,
well, that's nice. I don't know if I feel the same way. No, I'm just kidding.
I expect you to answer my phone.
Of course,
right?
every time.
Every time. But I guess my big promo on pickleball out there, we weren't going to talk about this, is because Wes spends a lot of time doing pickleball. And I know as a tennis coach, sometimes the last thing in the world I want to do is talk about tennis or basketball. I've just been up to my eyebrows in it my whole life. And I'm ready to do something different. But I do enjoy pickleball.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I even got a Wes Gabrielson autograph pro paddle.
Signature paddle. Yeah.
And the paddles aren't the wood ones anymore, guys. They do cost a little bit of money if you're going to get a better set. You can go to Walmart or something and get a little thing. That's what you should do. You can get a temporary net. You can throw it out in your driveway. It doesn't matter. You can go play anywhere that you got a hard surface on. But if you graduate and like it, go to Players Racket Shop over in Beaverton. It's a good place to start. Go online, look around. You'll find a lot of options. I would highly recommend the Wes Gabrielson signed autograph paddle.
Yep.
You make money on those?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
No, it's fun. I have other paddles that you give me, old ones.
Yeah, when Selkirk, these guys, Selkirk, when they first started out, they sent me paddles. This up and coming company out of Idaho. I was with a different company sponsored, and they're like, "We know you're with the other company. Can you test some of these and let us know?" 10 years later, became the company I'm sponsored by, and they're one of the biggest pickleball companies in the world. Selkirk.
That logo right there.
Yep, right here.
You know what? Is that the hat you gave me? Did you give me that white hat?
I did. I think I saw you with that hat in a video recently.
I was wearing that, and I can remember because I'm at the airport in Phoenix, Palm Springs.
Okay.
And it's
close.
This guy walks by.
Starts with a P.
I walked by this guy, and he looks up and goes, "Dude, man, that hat rocks." And I thought, no, I forgot that you gave it to me.
You had to look and say, what hat am I wearing?
I don't know. I kind of was like, okay. Well, hey, Santal with Dave Brown. Wes Gabrielson's here. We're going to flip into the next episode here of another show. So we're just going to kind of hesitate. And we're going to move on into education, which we both have a little bit of knowledge on.
Spent a lot of time in that world, yeah.
And so we're going to move to that one. So we appreciate you being here today. We'll have a series of 2 to 3 episodes here with Wes today. StandTallWithDaveBrown.com. Our biggest goal, you guys, we just want to get information out to people out there. We want to be a little bit different in the aspect that we just don't want to talk about pickleball or politics or education. So we've sprinkled in Jesus. It's important to Judy and I that we go to Athey Creek. We feel like we get good Bible teaching. And so for all you out there that don't go to church and stuff, we kind of call it going Bible-y on you. But then we'll roll right into sports like today, what we just did. Sports are awesome. And then we kind of come out from a player, coach, and then Wes is still playing, still very active. And then the last thing we talk about is people. The people stories we have coming this summer are off the hook. And I don't know about you guys, but it's kind of like reading a book. Or you're like watching that special, show like in 60 Minutes. I used to really like those where they would, I remember learning all about Dennis Rodman.
Love the Worm. One of my favorite players growing up.
I totally misunderstood him until I watched this whole 60 Minutes thing on him, and I'm like,
No.
I like that guy. So that's what we want to do with our people stories. It's fascinating. Like Wes's story, getting into pickleball, just being a kid from Oregon, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you are getting this chance to travel the world.
Mhm.
And I think for all of us that can't play pro pickleball like Wes, at Stand Tall, we want to bring the story to you. So either we identify as being a player, which a lot of us are, but I also identify with it's just fun to hear exotic stories about you, like you've been in Vietnam and everybody driving 1,000 miles an hour and 3-lane road, and there's eight cars wide, and it's crazy. So I always love it when you're telling me stories about wherever you're at. The big spider in Australia. Is that where
there was a spider, about yay big, folks.
Oh, dude.
Yep, and quickest I ever ran out of a restroom without washing my hands. I saw that thing and just boom, skedaddled. But then I found out the little ones were the poisonous ones. That one wasn't gonna. Believe it or not, the body was about the size of a tennis ball.
That's like being in the Bahamas 2 years ago for Ethan's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Jump off to go into where I have all the hogs. And I go jumping off the boat, and what I see when I look left, about 25 feet, is a shark fin.
Shark fin, you got out.
It's supposed to be a reef shark. It's about 5 feet long, but I tell you what.
Sure.
When you grew up in 1975 and you're a senior in high school and you see Jaws. And you see a shark fin when you're diving off of a boat 200 yards from shore.
That's why I don't swim in the ocean.
Mark Spitz would have not caught me. So standtallwithdavebrown.com. Go to our website and see the new changes we've made on there. And there'll be a lot of written materials, op-eds coming from producer Rob and other people. We have a lot of guest writers. And then all the reels that we do on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Peace out.